Hello and welcome. If there is one thing in the region that Afghanistan, India and Pakistan should work together at this time, is a joint fight against terrorism. The three nations suffer from terrorism for decades, but have been hesitant to work together. Both Afghanistan and India believe that terrorism and terrorist elements attacking them are in Pakistan. And Pakistan believes that its anti-state elements enjoy support from its neighbors in the West and East. As terrorism takes another shape in itself in the Middle East and threatens security of other countries in the region and beyond, the key question is how vulnerable our region is. What Afghanistan, India and Pakistan should do together to first get rid of the current problems and stand united against a spreading terrorism of IS kind. On this program, we at Tolo News here in Kabul hosted together with NDTV in Delhi and Pakistan's ARY in Islamabad. Here on my panel in Kabul, I have the former intelligence chief Amrullah Saleh and the top diplomat Javed Ludin, our former deputy foreign minister, and a handpick of students and civil society activists, and indeed, most importantly, a guest of honor. Right here in my right is Mr. Shuja, who lost his father and carries a sharpnel in his arm leg for 5 years. So he's going to tell us more later on his story, that how terrorism has changed his life and his dreams. Now to Vikram in Delhi.
Right, Lutfullah, thank you so much for joining us. It's important to try and figure out where has the problem come from, what has caused the problem, and what we can do to actually stamp it out. And that is something we should all jointly try and arrive at some answers towards as we go forward. Special guest, Dr. Subramaniam Swamy, senior leader of the BJP, is here, and Mani Shankaraya, former diplomat and a senior leader of the Congress party. He's of course spent some time in Pakistan as well. And we do also have a special guest, Kuldeep Singh, who's with us here, who was a DTC driver, saved something like 80 lives in October the 29th, 2005, when the blasts were taking place in Delhi. With his courage, he's paid a price for it. But he's also going to be talking to us about what sort of an impact terrorism can make on people's lives. So, you know, looking forward to this, to an engaging conversation. As Mohit, as I pass it on to you.
Thank you to both Lutfullah and Vikram in Kabul and Delhi. Let me introduce, I have a small panel with me. In the studio is Mr. Asad Umar. He's a member of parliament. He's a senior member of the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf in the core committee. Next to Mr. Asad Umar is Air Marshal Shahid Latif, a very known, prominent defense analyst and columnist and commentator in Pakistan. And also joining me here are the students from certain key distinguished institutions like Quaid-e-Azam University, Namal, National Defense University, and also from Roots Law School. Over to Kabul.
Thank you, Moeed. Before going to the case study, I would like to give an opportunity to the panelists here to make introductory remarks. Answering the key question is that how vulnerable the region is to terrorism, and when do we expect that there is going to be an end to it? Mr. Saleh, to you first.
For India and Afghanistan, terrorism means militant groups who are supported by Pakistan, who are based in Pakistan, who have been used as tools of foreign policy by Pakistan to both destabilize Afghanistan and also destabilize Pakistan. Today, there is close cooperation between India and Afghanistan, and there is also close intelligence sharing between the two countries on how to stand against these extremist groups. But the disconnect between us is Pakistan. Let's also not forget that the largest victim of terrorism in the region is not Pakistan, it's Afghanistan, where we have been suffering from terrorism, not post 9/11, but long before 9/11. We have been battling against Gulbuddin Hekmatyar's forces, who is still based in Pakistan. After that, we have been battling against the Taliban, whose leadership is still based in Pakistan.
Going to Mr. Ludin for his introductory remarks, and then to Vikram in India.
Frankly, I think we need to, the three countries need to start an initiative where we take our responsibility seriously. We basically respond to our people's aspirations,
Thank you.
and we tell other people in the world that we can do it. They can only help, but we are the ones that are primarily responsible for doing something about this.
Thank you. Now back to you, Vikram, in India for your overview.
A lot of the problems actually originate in Pakistan, and that, Dr. Swami, as I come to you, is a view that many in India also express, that yes, Pakistan is now also paying the penalty or paying the price for terrorism, but a lot of the origins were there. So it's a bit like somebody lighting a match to set a neighbor's house on fire, and then the fire coming back and affecting you.
If there is any place terrorists are trained for committing terror acts in the three countries, they happen to be in Pakistan. So it's in fact the crucible of terrorism is Pakistan. By and large, the overwhelming terrorist threat is the same ideology as it is in Afghanistan, as in Pakistan. They claim that they are doing it for Islam. So that all three countries are suffering from a version of Islam which they may individually disown, but it's something which seems to have a cementing factor, judging by the growth of ISIS. This is something that has to be addressed by moderates in Pakistan as to what they're going to do.
Okay. Manik Shankar Iyer?
I agree entirely with you, Vikram, that terrorism is a scourge. But it is a scourge not only in one or two of our countries, but very much equally so in Pakistan, which as a victim of terrorism is one of the most severely affected victims. And I don't think the fact of Islam is at all relevant over here. What is relevant is terrorism, irrespective of what the terrorists claim to be at the origin of their actions and their thought.
The drivers of terrorism in all three countries are domestic in origin, as well as abetted by regional strategies, as well as global power game. So to simplify it down to one country and to one religion is really not facing the reality of the challenge that we face. The Mukti Bani terrorists, armed, abetted, trained by India, were not fighting for any religion. The Maoist rebels who are now operating in more than a dozen states in India have got nothing to do with Islam or, for that matter, any other religion. There are known acts of terrorism by Hindu extremists in India. And so on and so forth. We can go on. I think as long as we stay in denial and we keep the narrative towards the problem is coming from the other side of the border, we have nothing to do with it, and we are only the innocent victims of this terrorism, you're never going to find a solution.
And let me also add that in every studio today in Islamabad and in Delhi and in Kabul, and I'm going to Kabul, we have victims of terrorism who are here to narrate what happened to them, their loved ones, their families, their colleagues. So I pass it over to Lutfullah in Kabul.
We have a case study and a true victim in our studio, so I am passing to Ahmad Shuja, a 24-year-old student at a university here in Kabul, who was wounded in an attack 5 years ago in Kabul, and he lost his father.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم. شجاع زمانی هستم، یک تن از قربانیان حادثه انتحاری که 5 سال قبل در سرک در لمان رخ میتم. ما در او حادثه پدرم و یکی از میمانای ما که 15 سال بعد از پاکستان برگشت به وطن کرده بود تا یک سرپناه به خود افغانستان بسازه و در اونجا زندگی کنه. متاسفانه میمان ما همراه پدرم از در حادثه جام شهادت می نوشه و خودم همچنان زخمی میشم که قسمت های چشم می باشه و بدنم و اعضای بدنم بعضی چرای عمیق می باشه داشت که ما در حادثه تقریبا 5 سال پیش یک حادثه بسیار المناک بود که من نتونستم زندگی خود به شکل درستش پیش ببرم. زمان ما 19 سال عمر داشتم و مسئولیت تمام فامیل به دوش خودم بود و 5 برادرها بودیم همراه والدین ما که برادر خودم 7 سال عمر داشت و نتونستم در اون زمان ما تحصیلات خود ادامه بدم و زندگی خود را درست بسازم. اما کردم که دکان داشتیم، دکان کاروبار خود پیش ببرم و شب باطه فامیل خود از او را تعیین کنم و خواست ما از امی دو کشور و افغانستان دولتش است که وقتی که اینا از تروریسم مشکلات را دچار هستند و رنج میبرند، چرا یک کار نمیکنند که دست به دست هم بتن تا تروریسم از بین ببره و در آینده هزارها و صدها فامیل دیگر هم دچار همچون حادثه نشه و اعضای فامیل خود، اولاد خود، فرزند خود از دست ندن.
We have Mr. Saad Malik, who many of people know that this year lost his sister Faiza, who's a lawyer, in an attack on Islamabad district courts. Let me walk to him.
My name is Saad Tariq Malik. میں فضا شہید ایڈوکیٹ کا سب سے بڑا بھائی ہوں. We were 3 brothers and sisters. اور ہم نے بہت محنت سے اپنی بہن کو پڑھایا اور we had بہت زیادہ توقعات تھے میرے والدین کے بھی. اور میری
پڑھا انہوں نے؟
جی انہوں نے دبئی سے اپنے او لیولز کیے تھے. وہ نارتھ امبریا یونیورسٹی انگلینڈ گئی تھیں اینڈ وہاں پہ انہوں نے شی ٹوک اے ڈسٹنکشن ہیئر ان LLB ان اسلام آباد لا، اسلام آباد اسکول آف لا میں. اور پھر اینڈ شی آلریڈی ان کا آلریڈی کنگسٹن یونیورسٹی میں LLM کی ایڈمیشن بھی ہو گیا تھا اور وہ پریکٹس کرنے کے لیے لا اسلام آباد ڈسٹرکٹ کورٹس میں کوئی 3.5 مہینے تک شی واز پریکٹسنگ. اور میں اور میرے بھائی ہم لوگ دبئی میں ہوتے ہیں. وی آر ناٹ ہیئر ان پاکستان. تو وہی ہمارا ایک قسم کی بڑی بہن بڑا بھائی جو میرے والدین کا خیال رکھنا، ان کو ہاسپٹل لے کے جانا، ان کی میڈیسنز اور پورے گھر کو چلانا. اینڈ وی ور آل سیلف میڈ اور وی نیور ایکسپیکٹڈ کہ ہم لوگ ایسا ایکسپیرینس فیس کریں گے. اس لیے ہمیں انہی ہاتھوں سے ود دی سیم ہینڈز ہمیں ان کو رخصت کرنا تھا اور انہی ہاتھوں سے ہم نے ان کو دفنایا. اور مطلب کہ یہ جو واقعہ جب پیش آیا تو میں اپنے سارے بھائیوں کو، اور اس پورے ملک میں ہر ایک گھر میں ایک عورت ہے، ایک بہن ہے، ایک ماں ہے، تو ہم لوگ جتنے بھی ہم مرد ہیں، میں یہی کہوں گا کہ آپ اپنی عورتوں کو، خواتین کو پڑھائیں ان کے جذبات اور ٹرائی ٹو انڈرسٹینڈ. بیکاز یہ جو لاس جس میں سے وٹ ویو گون تھرو، آئی ووڈنٹ لائک ٹو سی کہ کسی اور بھائی کے آنکھوں میں یا کسی والد صاحب کے، کون سا وہ والد صاحب ہے جو
How are your parents now?
جی مائی مدر شی واز ناٹ ویل اینڈ ان کو یہ لیپس آتے تھے جب بھی خدا نخواستہ کوئی انہیں ہوتا تھا. شی یوز ٹو رن آؤٹ سائڈ دا ہاؤس اینڈ شی یوز ٹو تھنک کہ someone is going to come to our house and try to attack. And she used to say that no one's going to get martyred from this house again. So we had to send her to Dubai تاکہ ان کا علاج ہو. We wanted her to be out. میرے والد صاحب بھی آنا چاہ رہے تھے but he wasn't well. So بس میری بس دعا ہے کہ انشاءاللہ people can spread awareness and know.
Okay. Thank you, sir. But with this, I will pass on to Vikram.
Right, Mohit, thanks for coming here. And you know, the people who suffer and who pay the price thanks to terrorism, we have Sangeeta here with us also, who lost her husband, and as that story was coming, you could see how emotional she was getting, also remembering some of the past, and I'll come to her a little later in the program. Because right now, I just want to go across to Kuldeep Singh, who's a real hero who's with us right now. Working as a DTC driver, he saved something like 80 lives on October the 29th, 2005, when the blast took place in Delhi. He found a ticking bomb, threw it out, and as a result, lost his eyesight, became hearing impaired, and also lost some fingers on his hand. So, Kuldeep ji, agar aap batana chahenge, kya hua?
اس دن آؤٹر مدریا کے روٹ کی ہم گاڑی لے رہے تھے تو پیچھے سے آواز آئی کہ گاڑی میں بم ہے. تو میں نے بولا کہ 1 منٹ رکو، تھوڑا آگے چل کے خالی ایریا ہے. اس سمے میری گاڑی کے اندر 70 سے 80 پیسنجر تھے. میں نے ان کو سبھی کو اتار کر پھر گاڑی سے وہ بم اٹھا کر میں نیچے اترا. نیچے اتر کے ایک پیڑ کے پاس رکھ کے جیسے ہی میں 2 یا 3 ہی قدم چلا تبھی بم بلاسٹ ہو گیا. اس میں میرے دونوں آنکھیں، ایک ہاتھ یہ خراب ہو گیا ہے. تو ہم تو یہی کہنا چاہتے ہیں کہ بھائی ان سے سختی سے نمٹا جائے کہ جس سے کہ بھائی یہ ہمارے جیسے بے قصور لوگ آگے چل کے بم بلاسٹ سے نہ مارے جائیں اور بھائی نہ اپائج ہو پائیں.
So I think, Mohit, perhaps we can take a break, and then when we come back, let's open it up to a broader discussion. Welcome back to this special show that we are doing. It's a one-in-a-kind, first of its kind, town hall that is being done between Afghanistan, Pakistan and India. And we are taking a look at that really terrible problem that in a sense affects this entire region, which is terrorism, and what we can actually do about it. Let's now open it up to having questions to each other in a sense, from our panel here in Delhi to both Kabul and to Islamabad and vice versa. And I'm going to start with you, I think, Dr. Sami, and I think what we've heard so far is some specifics but also some generalities. And while we all recognize that, yes, terrorism is a problem and all of us, in a sense, end up paying the price for it, perhaps we need to look for some specific issues as to where the problem is coming from and some specific solutions of how to fix the problem.
Well, before you fix the problem, there has to be, we have to get out of this mode of denial. I ask a question of the Pakistanis as follows. There's in all the terrorist incidents they have suffered from, not one Indian has been caught or has been found to be participating in the terrorist act. Whereas in India, we have so many Pakistanis we have caught, including the 2611, where we have traced the person who did the maximum amount of killing, and that was Kasab, and he was from Pakistan. Now, the issue has to be resolved. This is not a question of blame game, but blame has to be apportioned. We know that there are training camps in Pakistan. There are no training camps in India. There are no, in fact, this is the issue that has to be addressed squarely. The problem is Pakistan's civil society is not as strong as Indian civil society. We can govern through the civil authorities. In Pakistan, they have to take the they have to bear the veto of certain militant organizations. So this is the issue which the Pakistani intellectuals must frankly own up and see what we can do together to see that the civil society is made stronger in Pakistan.
There's a counter question to this. Who actually introduced this whole aspect of state terrorism back in 1970? I hope we are not forgetting the formation of Mukti Bahini by India, and a huge amount of forces that were infiltrated into East Pakistan, and that resulted in the separation of a part of our country. What would you call that? Don't you think that there is genesis of the whole problem of terrorism back in the era of 1970? And let me move forward. Your own ex-army chief, V.K. Singh, and this is in his book, I'm quoting it. He says in his book that under the instructions of the government, there were special units called TSDs, Technical Services Divisions. And the purpose of raising these TSDs was to spread terrorism both in India and Pakistan.
Please quote it.
So that Pakistan could be blamed for it.
Could you tell me the
now,
page number?
This is the second example that I'm quoting. I may not remember the page number because I haven't come prepared.
TSD spreading terror is rubbish. It's counter-terrorist unit.
Let me take it back. And it is in his book. And your point that you don't find Pakistanis behind it may be legitimate. But please don't forget, you don't find Indians behind it, may be legitimate. But please don't forget that when you sponsor people from here and you prepare them, and there is evidence that they are trained by your intelligence agency RAW in Afghanistan, obviously you would not find Indians perhaps there, you would find Pakistanis, and in India the Samjhota Express incident and a few others, who did them?
The most original explanation I've heard of Mukti Bahini being a terrorist force is from this gentleman in Pakistan. No country of the world has recognized Mukti Bahini as a terrorist force. Now, of course, it was unfortunate for Pakistan because it broke up into two, thanks to the Mukti Bahini, and that because they drove a crore of people across the border to India, out of which the Mukti Bahini was born, and they went back to Bangladesh to create Bangladesh. Now, therefore, please tell me, is there any authority in the world which has declared Mukti Bahini as a terrorist force? The answer is no. Second, whether it is Samjhota Express, which Mr. Manishankar, he has government's figment of imagination, that it was due to Indians who did it. That's a question which in the courts of law have found no takers. In fact, the United Nations, the United States has declared LET responsible for the Samjhauta Express, and that resolution of the United Nations still stands, that it was LET. Finally, let me say, the issue is, if these Indians are the sponsors of terrorism, there must be some evidence that Pakistan should give to India. There's not one evidence of India sponsoring any terrorism except vague allegations being made. Whereas we can give concrete examples of Pakistanis trained in Pakistan and engaging in terrorist acts in India.
All right, let me now get Afghanistan into this.
Vikram, Pakistan talked about state terrorism, so I would like to give the floor to Mr. Saleh.
It was suggested in the beginning that we do not enter into a confrontational dialogue, rather we speak with cool heads about the problem, but it seems unfortunately we are in that confrontational dialogue. Well, it's so obvious that Osama bin Laden was found in Abbottabad. The Haqqani brother was killed in Islamabad. Gulbuddin Hekmatyar is residing in Rawalpindi. The last Afghan delegation which was sent to negotiate with a detained Taliban leader, he met that detained Taliban leader in a Pakistani cantonment. Yet when we raise the issue of terrorism being a phenomena encouraged by Pakistan, supported by Pakistan, used by Pakistan as a foreign policy tool, then the argument, the counter argument is, where is the smoking gun? So let's define what should be the definition of the smoking gun if all of these examples are not do not constitute the smoking gun under hard evidence. Now, there is, on the other hand, no single evidence, hard evidence, provided by Pakistani establishment of Afghanistan having hand in sponsoring instability and violence in Pakistan. In the past 15 years, hundreds of studies have been conducted, dozens of books have been written describing Pakistan as the hub of the extremists. Some of these studies, let me quote Stephen P. Cohen, who has written 2-3 brilliant books, one called The Idea of Pakistan, the other called The Idea of India, and his latest book, which was published in 2011, called The Future of Pakistan. He calls Pakistan a reckless state, a state which has tried to destabilize the region, destabilize its neighbors, and has not benefited from this strategy of adventurism. Now, my point to our interlocutors in Islamabad will be that isn't it the time that we come out of this mood of denial and realize few things? A, India is rising, Afghanistan is rising, the region as a whole is rising. The one country who is declining is Pakistan. It is because you are stuck with the narrative of extremism, you are stuck with the narrative of seeing your neighbors not as friends but enemies, and you are declining. Remember, we are rising because in our first democratic transition, we managed to create a government of national unity. In your first democratic transition, Pakistan was partitioned into two parts. And yet, it seems the establishment is not learning from the past mistakes, trying to, for each bad experience, either blame us or others.
Thank you. So back to you, Mu'ee.
Brahmdav Bukti operates out of Afghanistan. We're talking about solid evidence, pictures actually going in and out of the Indian embassy there, made available not just to Afghanistan and India, also made available to other powers. TTP, the biggest terrorist organization operating in Pakistan, its head operates out of Afghanistan for the last 5 years. One of the key deputies of TTP intercepted by the US.
Masood you're referring to.
Latif Masood in October 2013, intercepted by the Americans from Afghan National Intelligence. So let's all stop being in denial. And I'm telling you that Pakistan has made choices, made policy decisions in the past which have resulted in violence and terrorism in the region. I'm saying this on air. Until I hear the same voices coming out of Afghanistan and India, there is never going to be a dialogue which is going to be constructive. But I'm telling you, until the narrative is all about how Pakistan is the bad boy and therefore the conversation that we need to have is how do we fix Pakistan, you're never going to be able to move forward. A fair assessment, an honest assessment and admission of what the reality is, including what's wrong about us, and then only can we move forward.
Well, while I echo with some parts of the views of the panel in Islamabad, but I want to provide them some very solid information so they could go back to their sources and verify their claim. Baramdagh Bukti, the grandson of Akbar Khan Bukti, is in Switzerland. Well, if you want to have his phone number, he is not hiding in Switzerland. He is residing there as a dignified Baluch leader who has escaped persecution and who has escaped as he says, state atrocities in Baluchistan. He is residing there. He is not in Afghanistan. He is giving interviews from Geneva. Geneva is not in southern Afghanistan, one. Secondly, you should also, as you claim we have to go to the roots of these problems, the root of Baluch insurgency is the Pakistan army killed one of the most prominent Baluch leaders who was in his 70s, early 80s, Akbar Khan Bukti. His family was desecrated and they had to escape. The Baluchis claim that while they export the bulk of gas to the rest of Pakistan, their villages are burning wood to cook and warm their homes. They have a very genuine grievance, whether Afghanistan is there or not. It is a Baluch problem. It's not Afghanistan creating a Baluch problem. Now, about the TTP, let me very briefly tell you one thing. President Karzai, the former head of Afghanistan, sent me several times to Islamabad instructing me to tell the establishment, please do not make the border irrelevant. Else a country will emerge between the two of us that neither you nor we will have the control. That is the case. That is the TTP country. That is why you have smashed some part of the Miram Shah marketplace, yet you are not able to control it because you initially thought that playing with fire will be easy and it will only burn Afghanistan. So let us cooperate, find out what is the root of the problem in our region, and then we will manage to find solutions.
Thank you. To Delhi now.
All right. I think we should now perhaps try and get some of the possible solutions. So, Manishankar Iyer, let me just turn to you now. Now, you know, we've heard very strong views expressed on all sides as to where the roots of the problem are and what the origins of the problem are. If you had to do something about it right now, what should be done? What can the three countries do starting tomorrow, as opposed to looking in the past, to make sure that we can eradicate terrorism?
The one point that the Pakistani participants haven't made, and I'm amazed, is that no country in the three has taken as much action against terrorists as Pakistan has. They've deployed their entire army. They've allowed the drones to come in and kill innocent Pakistani citizens in the attempt to target terrorists. So let us not assume that because there is terrorism on the soil of Pakistan, some of which is exported in the direction of India and much of which is exported in the direction of Afghanistan, that therefore the answer lies in smirking about Pakistan and giggling like this. But if you want to end this terror, I think we need to work together and not just indulge in blame games.
You want to respond to that? Then I'll toss it across to Pakistan.
We have to take a call, and our call is not what the Congress call is. We think that this matter has to begin by people understanding what the reality, and the reality it's got nothing to do with blame. It's something that you must admit. If we have been responsible for any terrorism in Pakistan, they should give us evidence, and I would think that this would be proper for India to admit it. But I have not seen so far any evidence coming from Pakistan on this.
Okay.
So therefore, I would only say at this moment, we can have this discussion and lead to a forward movement. And I can tell you there was a time when I thought it is possible for India and Pakistan to be friends, and I did visit Pakistan for that purpose. But then when the fact is that the civil society shrunk as it's shrunk now, I don't think it's possible to do anything unless the civil society grows.
Mohit, let me come across to you. You heard what both Manishankar Iyer and Dr. Subramaniam Swamy said. You know, again, not looking at the past but looking at the future. Do you think there could be some signals that would show that yes, all countries are serious about dealing with terrorism? Because you do have some people who are accused of terrorist acts and who've been the leaders of groups like the Lashkar-e-Toiba. Hafiz Saeed, of course, is the first name that comes to mind, who in a sense are roaming around rather freely in Pakistan. And while that continues to happen, there will always be questions in other countries as to the seriousness of actually dealing with terrorism. So looking at steps looking ahead, maybe one of your panelists could answer what they think are the steps that could be taken.
I personally feel that nothing could be further from the truth when you say that Pakistan, instead of being a victim, is sponsoring terrorism. That is the impression that I get from the two panels that have gathered in our friendly countries. With the Iranian Revolution in 1979, there was a serious problem in Pakistan. And it was at that time that the Saudis and the Americans, in order to check the rise of this influence further in Pakistan, created sectarian crisis here, due to which there were a lot of killings. Then you have the, the famous war on terror. Surprisingly, in the 19 people who were blamed as being the attackers on Twin Towers, not even one was a Pakistani. 14 were Saudis, 2 were Yemenis, and 2 were Egyptians. Who suffers? It is Afghanistan, and then followed by Pakistan. Started with Afghanistan. It was supposed to be war on terror. Very soon it turned to be war against insurgency, the counter-insurgency, and engulfed the whole region.
Let us start getting voices from the audience. So 2-3 comments here, then I'll toss it across to Kabul. Sakina ji, आप कुछ कहना चाह रही थी पहले?
मेरी इन तीनों कंट्रीज से यही रिक्वेस्ट है कि आपस में एक दूसरे को ब्लेम ना करते हुए आतंकवाद जो इतना फैल रहा है उसको खत्म करने की कोशिश करें, ताकि जो बेकसूर लोगों की जानें जा रही हैं वो ना जाएं.
ठीक है, बेकसूर लोगों की जानें ना जाएं. So a couple of comments are there. The gentleman there.
Sir, Pakistan is telling that they are very sincere about countering terrorism. So my question to them is, will they accept if Indian Defence Forces offers carry outing the terror strikes
so
on
if the Indian Army offers to go in and clean out the terrorists, oops, now that's a really interesting idea. Lufullah, why don't I come to you?
Before going to the audience, I would like to raise the point that we have a new government in Kabul and there is a new government in Delhi, and I would like to pose the question to Mr. Ludian that how the two newly established administrations can work together to cooperate with Pakistan as they suggested.
I think my advice to the two governments in Kabul, in Islam and in Delhi would also be that they have to really see who they engage, whether it is the military establishment in Pakistan or whether it is the civilian. And until the civilian government, the civilian administration in Islamabad really shows that they can engage with authority, there won't be much benefit from engagement.
Would your experience, Mr. Saleh, would it produce any results to get engaged with the military in Pakistan and the GHQ?
Well, for as long as Pakistan considers India an enemy and Afghanistan they consider friend of their enemy and they have to subdue at all costs, engaging Pakistan while they maintain this type of mentality is extremely difficult. While we also know there is a known and deep divide between civil military in Pakistan The civilian side of the government, especially in the last several years, have been extremely cooperative with Afghanistan, but there is a limit to what they can deliver, and Afghanistan, as a policy matter, is under the umbrella of the army, and the army does not share the view of the civilian government, so we are stuck how to deal with this duality in Islamabad.
Thank you, Mr. Saleh. Very quickly, a few comments and questions from the audience here, with the madam first.
Why Pakistan has been so selective in targeting tourism within Pakistan? Because, for example, they allowed U.S. drones to attack only areas that there is Pakistani Taliban present, not the Taliban that are fighting in Afghanistan, or same thing like this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One here.
If we forget the past and if we start the fighting against the terrorism, so it will be for betterness of both countries.
The last comment.
Both India and Afghanistan has experienced a series of resultless talks and negotiations over this issue of terrorism. But Pakistani government, in a deceptive manner, has always promised Afghanistan and India that they will fight terrorism inside Pakistani soil for many number of times. But they have always been deceptive. Now the question is that how long will the government of Pakistan continue to have this deceptive approach in deceiving Afghanistan and India? And plus, what will be the long-term consequences of this deceptive approach? Do you think that Pakistan will be pressurized of this deceptive approach in long term, even more harder than what they are experiencing right now?
Thank you, Lutfullah. There's a family from Peshawar that suffered their family loss in All Saints Church.
मेरा नाम शौकत गुलाम एडवोकेट फ्रॉम पिशावर और ऑल सेंट चर्च से मैं बिलोंग करता हूँ. ऑल सेंट चर्च में जो इंसिडेंट हुआ है उसके बारे में पूरी दुनिया जानती है. हमने वहाँ पर 100 से ज़्यादा लोग जो हैं वो उन्होंने अपनी जानें खोई और 150 से ज़्यादा लोग जो थे
आपके घर वाले भी
उसमें वो है. मेरा ये भतीजा जो है, ये इसकी तस्वीर है मेरे पास, ये मेडिकल कॉलेज का स्टूडेंट था. मैं कहता हूँ इस बच्चे का क्या कसूर था? ये तो बेचारा अपनी दुआ के लिए, नमाज के लिए, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के मुताबिक उसको इजाज़त है कि वो अपने चर्च में जाए और वो अपने मस्जिद में अपने उसमें वो करे. लेकिन एक बंदा चर्च के लिए जाता है और वो वापस घर में नहीं आता और उसकी लाश उठा के ले जाई जाती है. मैंने अपनी ख़ानदान की 3 लाशें उठाई हैं. मेरे साथ मेरे भाई बैठे हैं. इसने अपनी बेटी की लाशें उठाई हैं, अपने भाइयों की लाशें उठाई हैं, बच्चों की लाई हैं.
आप
अपनी बेटी की लाश उठाई है.
आप बताएंगे प्लीज.
इसी धमाके में मेरी पूरी फैमिली डैमेज हुई, जिसमें मेरे 6 मेंबर जो हैं डाई हुए और 6 मेंबर ही इंजर्ड हुए, जिसमें मेरी 3 साल की बेटी थी और मेरी वाइफ
क्या नाम था बेटी का आपकी?
अयाना इजहाक नाम था उसका और 3 साल उसकी उम्र थी. ये मेरे पास उसकी पिक्चर भी है और मैं इसको बता देना चाहता हूं कि दहशतगर्दी में इस बच्ची का क्या कसूर था कि जो इसकी नज़र हो गई. इसमें मेरी वाइफ भी इंजर्ड हुई, मेरी भाभी की डेथ हुई, मेरी 2 भतीजियों की डेथ हुई, मेरी 2 भांजियों की डेथ हुई. इस पूरी बम ब्लास्ट में मेरा सबसे ज़्यादा जो नुकसान उठाने वाला हूं मैं बैठा हूं. और मैं बताना चाहता हूं कि दहशतगर्दी के वजह से मेरे घर का सारा माहौल उजड़ के रह गया है. कोई रोने वाला मेरे घर में नहीं था, सिवाय मेरे एक के मैं उस विक्टिम था. उस बम ब्लास्ट में मैं भी मौजूद था, लेकिन अल्लाह की मर्जी से, खुदा की मर्जी से मैं महफूज रहा और मैं उन सबको संभालने वाला था.
Personally, I am proud to be the father of the youngest martyr in the history countering terrorism, because I lost my daughter who was of the age of 8 months, but she was in the mother of the womb. 3 pregnant women martyred in that incident, in that twin blast. And my wife is the only survivor who was having the pregnancy of 8 months. And I buried my daughter who was having the age of, who didn't even open her eye in this world. We are proud that we gave our sacrifices not only for Pakistan, but since we came to know and we can reckon it for this region, for this whole region, there is a sacrifice of Pakistani Christians.
One of the respected members from Afghanistan said that Pakistan should be part of the security, the strategic alliance. So my question is to the Indian respected panel members, that how can Pakistan be Pakistan is trying to bridge relations with India and Afghanistan as well. But then we see that there's derailment of the peace process, there's cancellation of the foreign secretary level talks, there are issues with the Prime Minister visiting Pakistan. So how can we move forward? And if it is said that Pakistan is not serious in this scenario of terrorism, so from the platform of this show, I invite the Prime Minister of Afghanistan and India to come to Pakistan, and you will for sure see a very positive and a concrete response from Pakistan.
Thank you. Back in, has got a concluding comment from you, Mohit, right now.
People that are gathered for discussion here, that a very sincere effort by at least all the three countries. I would even think that we should raise the level to the two big powers, which is China and Russia, because in my opinion the solution of terrorism will not come from America. I still say they had vested interests here in Afghanistan and they are continuing with those, and I feel that the way our region is worried about terrorism, no one else is, and no one from 10,000 kilometers will come to give you a solution. Therefore, the solution rests here. Let us first build confidence in each other. Let us involve all the regional powers, our neighborly countries, including Iran, who are likely to, who have suffered and who are likely to suffer more if we do not put an end to this menace. That is my recommendation for today, and I hope it is carried by.
Quick comment from you, Asadum.
Word that we have been getting from the Indian government since the new government has been installed has not been helpful at all. So I can just hope that their belief, there obviously is a belief on their part, that somehow anti-Pakistan rhetoric is good for them politically, domestically, proves to be wrong, and that impediment goes out of our way, otherwise we're moving in the wrong direction. But really the more important part is that still there has been a lot of effort in terms of civil society initiatives of creating bridges between the people of the countries, Pakistan and India. But there's virtually nothing happening between Pakistan and Afghanistan. I think we take it for granted, so much shared culture, language and so on and so forth. 3 million Afghans have lived in Pakistan for a very long period of time, that we take that relationship for granted. But if you hear the voices out of Afghanistan, as a Pakistani, it worries me in terms of what I hear from them. And there is a real need to start to build the bridges.
Perhaps one of the resolves that we should make is at least state-sponsored terrorism, or the fact that there's a good terrorist and a bad terrorist. Maybe that's something which we should try and all resolve, should be avoided. And maybe I can get a final thought from your panel on that.
So I think focusing on state-sponsored terrorism perhaps as just example, and we all agree that that's not the only menace. There are versions of extremism that probably are detested by all our governments, but there are still some aspects of terrorism, and I think the infrastructure that sustains even the grassroots level terrorism are sponsored by some state institutions, and that at least as a minimum should be unbearable.
Thank you, Mr. Ludin. To you, Mr. Saleh, to respond to the question from Vikram.
Well, imagine if Pakistan, instead of training 30,000 insurgents, had trained 30,000 MBA holders in Afghanistan. What would have been the situation? Completely different. So the reason you have every Afghan with the ability to raise his voice, they raised a voice against the interference of Pakistan, because none of our MBA holders, none of our civil society members were trained in Pakistan. All those who were trained in Pakistan are road bandits, insurgents, IED planters, so they do not come to these type of forums to praise you. You cannot find them amongst the civil part of Afghanistan. So please don't blame us why we don't praise you, because those who should praise you are planting IEDs on daily basis against the civilian population of Afghanistan. But what is the solution ahead? The solution is for Pakistan to work with the Afghan government, with the legitimate Afghan government. Please stop recognizing a parallel government, which is the Taliban, against us. It will hurt you as you see it is hurting you. You cannot have a bad terrorist and good terrorist. A bad terrorist only kills Afghans and Americans, and a good terrorist is that, and a bad terrorist is the one blasting your cities. Please correct your definition. My third and last point will be, Afghanistan is in need to live in a peaceful neighborhood. It is our need. We have no adventurous plans, games, or conspiracies. We are a nation on rise, and we do not need to have bad relations with our neighbors. But yet our history shows we are very proud people. When we are challenged as a nation, as a state, as a country, we unite. And you see, regardless of how strong political differences we have amongst ourselves, when it comes to dealing with the threat which is threatening our statehood, we stand together, and you saw it in this gathering today.
Thank you. Passing to Delhi for the final conclusion of the program.
Right. Thanks so much, Lutfullah. Well, you know, we do have Dr. Subramaniam Swamy, who had to leave. He has a flight to catch, so he had to rush off. So perhaps a quick final thought from you, Manishankar Iyer.
What I take away from this is that the 3 male members of the Pakistan audience showed that there is a battle against internal terrorism taking place in Pakistan, and that it's on a very wide scale. The girl there, she asked, what are the answers? और यहाँ भी हमारे एक नौजवान मित्र हैं जिन्होंने यही सवाल मुझसे किया. एक ही हल है. जबकि कोई मतभेद नहीं है, तब बातचीत की जरूरत नहीं है. जब मतभेद है, जबकि तनाव है, तभी बातचीत करनी चाहिए. तो मैं I believe very strongly that because we have differences, because I don't agree with everything that the Air Marshal has said, therefore it's more important for me to talk to the Air Marshal than it is for me to talk to Asad Umar, who said many of the things which I was trying to say. So let's please
talk more, you're saying, to people whom you disagree with.
Let us not be frightened of conversation. And let us recognize that Pakistan is a sovereign nation, and that we will not get solutions by attempting to put them and them alone in the dock.
Don't be afraid of conversation, and I'd like to say that's exactly what we have tried to do in this one-of-a-kind show, and hopefully not the only one that we're going to do, because it is important to get a conversation going in this region and perhaps elsewhere. The fact that we were able to have a town hall like this, engaging Afghanistan, Pakistan, India in a dialogue, we may not have always agreed, but the fact that we had this conversation in the first place, I think, is a very, very important step, and let's hope it's not the last time that we're going to do this. So I'd like to thank everyone in Islamabad, in Kabul, and here in Delhi. It's been a really, really interesting conversation, and looking forward to a lot more. This was Guftogo. Thank you all so much for having me.